In the last episode of Town Hall 11 Free to Play, we had some fun on the Goblin maps in single player mode. Today, let's get into Clan War and look at the Miner Hog Rider hybrid attacks. So we have a comment here that I want to take a look at real fast because I really feel like this is the perception among many players out there as a new Town Hall 11. I know it's pretty early, but could you show us some easy war strategies at Town Hall 11, guys? Town Hall 11 is not an easy Town Hall level at all. Unless you've gotten your Electro Dragons unlocked and upgraded, or you've been able to upgrade some of your troops, you're still going to have a really difficult time taking down and 3-starring Town Hall 11s effectively. What's going on, guys? My name is Joe, and welcome back for episode 10 of the Town Hall 11 free-to-play series. Today we're going to get into Clan War as requested, but we're going to take a look at the Miner Hog Rider hybrid attack because that is the army that I want to use in the upcoming weeks. And I'm going to show you 3 different replays with different parameters, different levels of troops. That way you can understand why I'm so focused on upgrading my stuff very early on. Alright, so let's go ahead and get things started with this first replay. And we are a new Town Hall 11, so we need to think about it as a new Town Hall 11. We have new defenses that we have to worry about. We have more troop capacity that we need to worry about. Things have changed a little bit. We got a level 2 Eagle Artillery, we got high level Inferno Towers, and we have a 4th Expo that we need to worry about. So more defenses, meaning we need to have more troops. And this is why I place such a major emphasis on upgrading your camps very early on in the series. Get those camps upgraded, that way you can attack like a Town Hall 11. Now when we look at this entire army, we have the full 260 housing space, and the army composition resembles what you had at Town Hall 10. The only thing missing here is the lack of a Barbarian King, but we're going to work around that and still get a 3-star with this attack. Now the concept of the army is going to be about the same as what it was at Town Hall 10. Clear the clan castle troops, try to get rid of the Eagle Artillery, that's the only major difference here, and try to get rid of some heavy defenses in the process. That way you can keep your miners and hog riders moving together to clear out the base. The queen, taking her out as a bonus, but the miners can always do that as well. So we're going to go ahead and start down here in the bottom side of the base. The point of entry for our archer queen is going to be down here in the bottom side of this base. The Miner Hog Rider hybrid attack requires the queen walk. This is why I cannot do this army yet, because I'm worried about getting my queen upgraded. We got that baby dragon, we got a wizard over there clearing, and we have a jump spell. So we're using a jump spell instead of wall breakers. And so the queen is going to work into a very dense location. She's going to take on an archer tower, a cannon, an expo, and an Inferno Tower. This is a lot for the queen to take on. So you have to be very aware of her surroundings using the rage spell. Poppy has to use her ability to get her through this location, get rid of this Barbarian King, as well as having to deal with these skeleton traps. But you're going to notice that nothing else has been dropped on the map yet. This is the main focus right now, using that queen, get her up into the clan castle, and get rid of those clan castle troops. Poison spell dropped on the balloon as well as that Electro Dragon, and she's going to deal with that very easily. Level 50 queen. He spent a lot of time upgrading that queen, so that's why he's being very effective. Once that goes down, he can start working into the next portion of his attack. He's going to drop the siege barracks with the P.E.K.K.A. and the wizards generating, and they're going to work their way around the outside of the base a little bit. We got the P.E.K.K.A. stuck on a wall, but at the same time, you're going to notice that that queen is going to eliminate that Eagle Artillery before the miners are dropped. So we got the miners and the hog riders working their way up together. The Grand Warden is going to go with your miners and your hog riders to protect them. You got 3 heal spells plus the Grand Warden to keep your miners and hogs alive. And they're going to work through this L shape. You'll notice that there is a portion of base remaining with defenses running up towards the top side, and then it's going to cut back towards the left. And that queen is going to continue, but she's eventually going to get taken out, I believe. I think the queen dies on this one. But regardless, heal spell dropped in the dense location where there's a bomb tower and a wizard tower, and our hogs and miners are going to continue to progress up towards the top side into the final Inferno Tower. Heal spell placed in this area since we're having to deal with ground set skeleton traps. And on the outside of the base, we have a parade of wizards and miners working their way up towards the top side, where we have some really weak buildings in the elixir collectors and the gold mines. At this point in the raid, we have the hogs linking up with the miners across, and they're working their way down towards the backside of defenses, while the healers have transitioned from the queen over to the hogs and the miners. And so they're going to basically carry them through the back end of this attack, while we still have that massive parade of troops working their way through this exterior building. So this is where you see you get rid of that eagle artillery, you get rid of a couple of heavy defenses like the Inferno Tower, maybe an Expo, and if you have the troop capacity, you should be very successful with this attack. But again, this is why I have been unable to do this very early on, because we're still in a very early reset phase. In that last replay, we talked about the significance behind the upgrading of army camps, but one thing that I did not talk about in that previous replay is the level of troops that were used. We had level 5 healers, we had level 5 miners, and level 7 hog riders. Those are the maximum levels available for Town Hall 11, so he was working with a very strong army. And you need to understand that you have to have those components if you're going against high level bases. Now this attack here is not actually a 3-star. This is a high percentage 2-star. I want to show some love to Med over here in Paradox Enigma. So he's working with the level 3 miners and level 7 hog riders. Very similar army. He has his Barbarian King at level 40, and he has an Archer Queen at level 42. The Grand Warden is still level 3, so the Grand Warden does not have the Eternal Tome ability. So I want you to see the difference between the attacks with the high level heroes and the low level heroes, as well as the low level troops. And I got to show you these things because there is a difference. You can 3-star, but it's going to be a little bit more challenging than what you saw in the previous replay. So we're starting out with the same thing, the same scenario with the Queen Walk. Now Med did use a hero potion to jack up the levels of his troops, so the Grand Warden now does have the ability level 8 with the level 47 and level 45 King and Queen. So we're working the Queen into the location to take down the Clan Castle troops. Very similar concept. Now the one difference between this raid and the last is that Med is going to use the Barb King in this area. One change that I might have done here is dropped a baby dragon in this area instead of the Barb King, but this was just his personal preference. If the King could have been dropped maybe down here with the Siege Barracks, we might have seen a little bit more success, but there's really no telling unless we actually see it in action. So the King has been placed right now, and the Queen is going to work her way back into that compartment. That's actually the point here, is to try to get that Queen to turn back up into that compartment, dropping the rage spell, having to deal with some ground set skeleton traps. She's going to have to deal with this Grand Warden. She's going to take on the Town Hall, while the Barb King is working his way through another obstacle in the enemy King. His ability is going to have to be used. Poison spell drop for the balloon, as well as the Electro Dragon, same thing as the previous replay. And we also have the Siege Barracks dropped on the far bottom corner of this base to start clearing out these buildings down here. So let's focus back in on this Queen. The Queen's dealing with that Electro Dragon. She's going to deal with that balloon, and then another rage spell is going to be dropped on her, and then she's going to turn the corner. Now, I believe miners and hogs will be dropped here momentarily once a few buildings are cleared out. You want to make sure that the miners and the hogs stay together. Queen is taking on some serious damage up on the top side, dealing with 2 different Expos. That is a lot on a Queen. The Eagle Artillery has been activated, so now you'll see the miners and hogs placed, and they're going to work up into these defenses, taking on a multi-target, taking on a Wizard Tower. We got the Hog Riders joining in from the Siege Barracks, since there was enough time for them to join the group, and the Grand Warden's ability is going to be used before the barrage from the Eagle Artillery, basically protecting those miners and hogs. You got to try to keep them alive, and that's what the Grand Warden's purpose is. Now, that Queen's ability had to be used as well, because she was taking on a lot of damage from all these point defenses. Miners and hogs are going to join into the area where the Queen was at, but unfortunately the Queen is unable to survive. And so the miners and hogs are going to work up through that line of Expos up towards the top side of the base. Now, remember how I said that the Queen is not necessarily, the enemy Queen is not that big of a deal in the Miner Hog Rider hybrid attack, because the miners will break away and take out the enemy Queen while the hogs work on the defenses surrounding her. And so that's exactly what happens here. But unfortunately, we just don't have enough oomph, so to speak. We don't have a king over here to basically block for these defenses, and everything is just going to focus back in on those remaining hogs, and there's no more heal spells to help them out. So the hogs are unfortunately going to end up dying out, and we're going to be left with nothing but miners and the Grand Warden. So this is where the army kind of fizzles out a little bit, and this is why I suggested to drop that king down to the bottom side of the base, maybe use a baby dragon back here, but we really just don't know unless we see the army in action. Ideally, you want to keep your troops in line together, and this is what's most effective in a lot of armies. Keeping the queen walk online, keeping the king on the opposite online, clearing the exterior buildings, and the miners hogs working together. I'm gonna go to speed this one up, that way you can see the army for yourself, and we're gonna move into a maxed out attack, that way you can see the difference there. But we did have lower level heroes here and lower level miners, just keep that in mind. So in the previous two replays, we talked about the significance of the army camp and the high level troops. We're not going to talk about that anymore. I think we've beaten that one into the ground. At this point, you need to understand that you need to upgrade your stuff if this is the army that you want to use. If this is not the army that you want to use, then upgrade the troops that you want to put into action, whether it's the electro dragons, the witches, the bowlers, whatever you want to use. But in this replay, we're going to get into the significance of timing and how to time out your attack. And so ideally, what you're going to want to start out with is that queen walk to eliminate your clan castle troops. We've seen it time and time again, whether you're Town Hall 10 or Town Hall 11, it happens the same exact way. Funneling the queen in to the area to clear the clan castle troops, drop the siege barracks as well as the barbarian king to clear the opposite side funnel, and then you're going to place your miners and hog riders and grand wardens. So that's exactly what's happening here. We got the queen working her way through a couple of buildings, taking down some defenses, and the target here is to clear the clan castle troops. She's going to work her way into an archer tower, rage spell dropped, and it looks like we have a super wall breaker in this composition. So this is a little bit of one of those random things that we don't normally have the access to. Single super wall breaker is going to be able to open up the compartment very nicely for this queen. The poison spell was dropped, clearing out the clan castle troops. Apparently we had a wizard and a witch or something in there, and the poison spell and the rage spell was able to get the queen through that engagement very easily. Over on the right side of the screen, we have the barb king and the siege barracks. Now what you want to do is we're trying to funnel our miners and hogs into this area to get rid of that eagle as early in the raid as possible. You don't want to wait till the end. You want to try to get rid of it early. And so we're going to see the barb king and P.E.K.K.A. and wizards work, and don't pop that siege barracks early. You want to let it count down. You want to let it generate as many wizards out as possible. That way you have a ton of wizards on the base clearing out buildings for your miners and your hogs. Queen on queen action over there in the top side. She's going to eliminate that enemy queen, and she's going to continue to work into a few defenses and work on some stuff over there. Now notice before this siege barracks pops or releases the hog riders that's inside, we'll see the miners and hog riders placed. So they'll basically tie in together. The miners and the high level hogs will work their way in together into these defenses, and the grand warden's going to be placed back behind them to follow and support the troops. Heal spells are dropped to carry the miners through. Freeze spell on the double expo placement to take the pressure off of the hogs, and the grand warden's ability will be used on the hogs that got caught in that tornado trap. Now you'll see another heal spell placed, taking on both of those expos, dealing with the wizard tower, working their way into the point defenses, but the miners and hogs have been able to stay online together throughout the entire raid. Now that queen, unfortunately, is going to get taken out by that single target inferno tower. There's just no avoiding that. That's going to happen regardless. But the miners and hogs have worked their way around the base, and they're going into the final defenses. Heal spell dropped. We have one final freeze spell to stop the ground set skeleton traps, as well as that single target inferno tower, which takes a lot of pressure off of that P.E.K.K.A., gets pressure off of the grand warden, and the final archer tower will fall. So hopefully you understand the timing of that attack, and there's your army right there. And on that note, I do believe that that's going to wrap us up for today. Hopefully you're able to see the difference between troop levels and hero levels and the things that happen in those attacks, and you get a pretty good understanding on the army that we are going to be using in the upcoming weeks. Now, I'm not discrediting the electro dragons, nor am I discrediting the wizards or the witches or the ice golems or the bowlers. They're all phenomenal troops, but I really feel like you can get the miners and hog riders going very early on in your Town Hall 11 journey, because you don't have to upgrade barracks. All you have to do is upgrade troops. And it's just something to think about when it comes to starting out as a new Town Hall 11 and getting yourself into clan war and having fun and being successful. If you enjoyed our content, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe if you have not done so already. And if you like watching us every single day, turn on those notifications. If you need any additional video support or you want to see this series from the very beginning, click one of those links over there, and we will see you in the next one, guys. Take care.